Everything you think you know about American geography is wrong. Not slightly wrong, completely wrong. And the proof has been sitting on a map this entire time. Rivers that flow the wrong way, deserts that get snow, cities built below sea level, a state technically in 2 hemispheres. None of this was in your textbook. All of it is real, and by the time you reach fact 1, you will never look at a map of America the same way again. This isn't just a list of facts, it's proof that geography makes decisions people don't understand. Alaska is so wide that if you placed it on top of the continental United States, it would stretch from California to Florida. It spans 4 time zones. The western tip of Alaska is closer to Russia than it is to the eastern tip of Alaska. And here is the part that makes no sense. Parts of Alaska are actually in the Eastern Hemisphere. The Aleutian Islands cross the 181st meridian, technically placing them on the same side of the globe as Asia. Alaska is in the Western Hemisphere. Parts of Alaska are not. But Alaska's size is only the beginning of what America hides. The Mississippi River drains 1.2 million square miles of land. That is 40% of the entire continental United States, all flowing into one river. Water from Montana, from Pennsylvania, from Minnesota, all of it eventually reaches the Mississippi and flows south to the Gulf of Mexico. But here is what sounds impossible. The Missouri River, which feeds the Mississippi, is actually longer than the Mississippi itself. The tributary is longer than the river it feeds. No other major river system on Earth works this way. The longest river in America is not the Mississippi. It is the river that feeds it. Maps don't lie. People just don't look closely enough. And rivers are not the only thing in America that defies logic. Death Valley in California is the hottest place on Earth. It recorded 134 degrees Fahrenheit in 1913, the highest air temperature ever measured on the planet. But Death Valley is also below sea level, 282 feet below to be exact. It is the lowest point in North America. Now here is what should be impossible. Death Valley gets snow. The hottest place on Earth, sitting below sea level, in the middle of a desert, receives snowfall. The geography of California makes this not just possible, but mathematically inevitable. Wyoming has fewer people than the city of El Paso, Texas. 580,000 people across 97,000 square miles, less than 6 people per square mile. Alaska averages 1.3 people per square mile across 663,000 square miles. If Manhattan had the same population density as Alaska, it would have 16 people living in the entire borough. 16 people in Manhattan. The geography of America contains extremes that no map can fully capture, but population density is nothing compared to what America hides underground. There is an ocean buried underneath Texas, not a metaphor, a real ancient sea, the Permian Basin, that existed 250 million years ago, dried up, and left behind the largest oil reserve in America. The Permian Basin produces more oil than most OPEC countries. It produces more oil per day than Iraq. And it sits directly beneath land that looks, from the surface, like flat, unremarkable scrubland. The biggest energy reserve in the Western Hemisphere is completely invisible until you drill for it. Texas is not just sitting on oil. Texas is sitting on an ancient ocean. Reno, Nevada is further west than Los Angeles, California. Los Angeles sits at 118 degrees west longitude. Reno sits at 119 degrees west. Reno, which most people think of as inland desert, is geographically further west than the Pacific Coast city of Los Angeles. The coastline of California curves so dramatically that an inland desert city ends up west of a beach city. Most people who have lived in both cities their entire lives do not know this. The world doesn't feel extreme until you measure it. The borders of Colorado and Wyoming are both defined as perfect rectangles on the map. straight lines from corner to corner. But they are not actually rectangles. The curvature of the Earth means the northern border of each state is slightly shorter than the southern border. Colorado is officially a rectangle. It is geometrically impossible for Colorado to be a rectangle on a curved planet. The straight lines on the map are an illusion, making Colorado a shape that has no name in geometry. New Orleans sits 6 feet below sea level. The city is surrounded by the Mississippi River, Lake Pontchartrain, and the Gulf of Mexico, all of which sit higher than the city itself. The only thing keeping New Orleans from being permanently underwater is a network of pumps and levees. When Hurricane Katrina hit in 2005, the levees failed and 80% of the city flooded. And yet 350,000 people still live in a city that sits in a bowl below the surrounding ocean, held back entirely by man-made walls. New Orleans is not built near the water, it is built below it. Seattle is further north than Toronto, Canada, further north than Montreal, further north than Ottawa, the capital of Canada. At 47 degrees latitude, Seattle sits north of all of these major Canadian cities. Most people picture Canada as universally north of America, but 70% of all Canadians live south of Seattle's latitude. The majority of Canada's population lives further south than an American city most people think of as cold and rainy. The mental map most people carry of North America is almost entirely wrong, but nothing on this list is more impossible than the final fact. Yellowstone National Park sits on top of a supervolcano. The caldera, the collapsed mouth of the volcano, is 34 miles wide and 45 miles long. The last time it fully erupted, 640,000 years ago, it deposited ash across half the continent and caused a global temperature drop. The ground inside Yellowstone rises and falls by inches every year as magma moves beneath it. In 2014, the ground swelled 3 inches in a single year. If Yellowstone erupts at full scale again, it would be the largest natural disaster in recorded human history. And it sits in the middle of a national park visited by 4 million tourists every year. America built a tourist attraction on top of a supervolcano, and 4 million people visit it every year without thinking twice about what is underneath their feet. None of these facts were taught in geography class. None of them appear on standard maps. All of them are real, verified, and sitting in plain sight. America isn't just big, it's unpredictable. And most people living inside it have no idea what they're standing on. Subscribe to MapWiz Wizardry and find out what else the map is not telling you.